today with us. I would like to start by thanking all our sponsors. We have amazing 24 projects, came from 18 different countries this time. Without you, this Congress wouldn't have been possible. So thank you for being here. I want to also thank our investors. This is the highest registered number of investors that we have. We have 197 investors. 54 are international and came from 23 different countries. Thank you for being here. I would like to thank our speakers. We're also looking forward to hearing the insights and the thought that you all have for the blockchain industry. Allow me to thank our organizers, Agora team, for being here and for literally not sleeping for the past 72 hours. Thank you. We have ahead of us very heavy schedule and very exciting 2 days. However, I urge all our investors to stick to the one-on-one meeting schedule timing so we can finish on time. For the investors who are here and they have the schedule, they saw any presentation, they met any of the project outside and it's not on their schedule. If you would like to meet with them, Agora's team are wearing the orange lanyards. Just grab anyone and tell them that I would like to meet with such and such project. Wishing everybody a great and very successful Congress. Thank you for being here.
I'm sorry, I'm having a... for those who are about to ask, how are you? So the event has always been about investor-project relationships. Usually in the rest of the world, almost everything, investors are the primary, like the most sought after commodities. Unfortunately, fortunately for startups, unfortunately for investors themselves, that's not the case in crypto. Investors are hunting for good deals. Good deals get filled up quickly for obvious reasons. Every project hits the public market even before the project hits the project itself, like the product itself. So you're dealing with a industry that is raising micro capital, that is raising money from retail and obviously unsophisticated retail audience. So what really matters in this case, in Agora event and why TDeFi has stepped in or has been cordially invited by Agora, is to bring that balance of advisory, the balance of projects, genuinity, quality in projects altogether. And that we're trying to do to some level. I would appreciate all the investors here to take out a moment and we'll be giving them rating forms, right? To rate projects? Right, yes. Yeah. So we have introduced, just to add on more on the quality of projects and to bring visibility to some of those who are not good with marketing, we have added a rating system and an award of the best startup, right? So for those who are startups here, when your meeting is done, please ask your investor or the guy you're meeting to rate them. It's not important if they are investing or not, they can still mention how they feel about the project. That will help the project eventually win the award. So those are some efforts. And then finally, we're also celebrating quality advisory altogether in this event and in crypto altogether. So people who are strategic investors, people who bring more value than money are more than welcome. Talk to the projects about that. The projects can take that note and get back to the Agora team or the TDeFi team to understand and evaluate that strategic contribution, and we'll help them get to something, let's put it that way, and bring both investors and project in a relationship that's mutually beneficial. So with that, let's begin the event. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. I invite all of them to the amazing 2-day conference. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Gaurav, you're a strong man for doing this while you're sick. I'm appreciative of your strength. All right, we're gonna have our keynote opening address. Please welcome to the stage His Excellency Ahmed bin Sulayem, Executive Chairman and CEO of the
it seems, at least for the most part, for those who felt it wouldn't fly, is now a part of reality. And I personally compare those who still want to avoid having anything to do with the blockchain and crypto industry, similar to those who do not have a social media profile, avoid using internets, just want to be called on the phone, maybe, or use a pager. That's a choice. Maybe it's too stressful. Not all of us are wired the same way. But what's exciting me about this new industry, this new era that we're in, we in DMCC represent almost 20,000 businesses. I expect by a month or so, we'll announce that we've crossed 20,000 companies in DMCC. We're the largest oil and gas and renewable energy free zone in the Middle East and North Africa, literally representing pretty much every continent around the world, and many of which are from the GCC itself. Dubai is the largest re-exporter of tea, and the coffee industry is growing phenomenally fast, pushing me to force a plan to expand our coffee center, tripling its size from the 15,000 square meters of temperature-controlled storage facility that we have. We're looking at having ICE-approved warehousing connected to DP World, whether that's in Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and even in Dubai. And when I mention ICE-approved, that pushes me to look at the speed of business that happens on ICE exchange and understand what Jeff Sprecker's vision is as well. And blockchain and crypto is a big part of his future and the business that he sees, the business environment that he understands. We at DMCC today are under a lot of pressure, especially after winning the best free zone of the year for the 7th time in a row. We understand that to replicate that or to repeat that, we can't just work the same way we did in the past 2 years. We have to focus and gear up and we have to focus and be ready for where the market will be, not where it is today. And I understand that these are big leap jumps when it comes to the blockchain industry. But one of the strategies I personally have is to ensure the diamond industry in the Dubai Diamond Exchange, the gold and commodities exchange, the oil industry, the cacao and coffee, all of my network understands that the crypto community is within reach. Whether that's whether we're talking about connecting with India, that does rating on crypto and blockchain businesses based on machine learning and AI, meaning that there's less human interaction with this. It's less prone for mistakes or corruption. Something that the banking industry has to learn from. Recently, the president of Tanzania has instructed the central bank to look at the crypto industry. And I do get feedback. One of my key clients wanted his cash in a certain currency, and one local bank refused to address that, refused to be client friendly, I guess, in that moment, and that costed 600,000 dirhams to this client. Maybe it's not a big money to him, but the experience is bad enough that I guarantee you this person is not going to deal with this bank ever again. They will look at stable coins. They will look at procedures that saves them money, saves them time, and less hassle. So if the banking industry does not adapt, does not add crypto, and at least have a symbiotic relationship, then crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum will do to the banking industry exactly what the email did to the post office. I do not have any more to add to what I just said. All I want to say that DMCC is ready with our partners, with our partners CV Labs, to provide all we can. And I want to remind everyone listening to me right now, our borders is not TDeFi and DMCC. We can find solutions through other partners for you to get to the target you need or the solution you're looking for. And we're a call away, we're a tweet away, and our address is well known. We're based in the Almas Tower, the world's tallest diamond tower today. Thank you. I would like to thank Agora for putting this event together. And I know that this will be a fruitful event and we'll come up with so many new ideas and opportunities. That being said, I hope you have time in your schedule to visit our tea and coffee center and meet with the management over there, understand the planning for the expansions and what technology we'll be using. Speed of service, connectivity is important, traceability is important. We've heard a lot of nice concepts on coffee and tea, from crop to cup and all that nice stuff, but these are just ideas today. Maybe we can make it a reality. I look forward to hearing more from you.
Hussein Saeed, anchor of CNBC Arabia. Big round of applause, please. Good morning, how are you? Maybe you can join me here and you can introduce your co-panelists.
Sure, no worries. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And as Gordon just mentioned, placing the UAE at the center stage of blockchain, we are already there. And probably the question is, what's next, whether it is from the public or private market. So we can see a lot of investments happening on the government side. We have probably more than 30 or 40 projects ongoing now. And the question is, what's next? So please, I would like to ask my panelists to join me here on stage. We have Les Mail, CEO of Dubai Gold Exchange, Saeed Al-Darmaki, founder of Shisha Finance, Ralph Glabisching, he's the founder and board member of Crypto Valley Venture Capital, and Joseph Holm, founding partner for Draper Gowen Holm. Please join me in welcoming the speakers.
It's in your capable hands.
The mic?
Just checking, is Saeed here? On his way? Okay, so we'll start and try to wait for Saeed as well. So gentlemen, how about you just come closer to us here? All right, so let me start with you. So I think you're coming from the traditional finance, from the old school, and you're now here in the new school, the blockchain. So you've been with NASDAQ, you've been with now DGCX, so it's all about the trading commodities, FX, and other instruments. What is blockchain bringing to you, or what are you looking at opportunities to bring blockchain in the business?
Thank you, Hussein. I'm not quite that old, but old school perhaps, and maybe more of a realist. Yes, financial services, banking, and we run the largest derivatives exchange in the Middle East. Look, I'm at a blockchain congress, right? I get it. I'm an advocate of blockchain. I'm a supporter of blockchain, but it's not in the mainstream yet. There's some fantastic pilot projects, and we couldn't be in a better city, in a better emirate, or a better country than Dubai and the UAE in order to further the advancement. Not guilty. We're not seeing it yet in the mainstream financial services, and why is that? I think there's two main reasons that we see. One is that a lot of the financial services and the banking sector, it's a spider's web of systems and processes and procedures and back office systems that if you tinker with a little piece of it, the whole house of cards comes crumbling down. And it's been there for 20, 30 years. It works. Don't touch it. It works. It's not working for the benefit of the market. It's not working for the benefit of the members. But a lot of the straight-through processing is embedded and proven. So we're not just having to disrupt, we have to displace. And that, I think, is the challenge. And the second aspect that we see in the traditional old school industry is there's lack of production solutions. The best one we think of is the Australian Stock Exchange. The Australian Stock Exchange in 2015 wanted to replace its settlement systems and put it onto the blockchain. Today, 6 years later, it still hasn't done that. And I don't mean that as a criticism at all. It's a fantastic endeavor and great ambitions. but they haven't delivered. So the rest of the stock exchanges around the world who are looking quite interestingly at this are then sitting back and waiting to see how this plays out. So perhaps I'm not the first guest to come to open the event with a dose of realism, but I am a big supporter of blockchain, trust me. And I do see the advantages. We can all rattle off the advantages. We're not there yet, and there's other things that I could talk about, but we better let our guests have a word.
All these guys are here ready to provide you now with solutions, so probably we'll discuss this
True.
with you
I've talked myself into that.
later. So Ralph, you have a huge portfolio now of companies in the blockchain industry. And I was just looking over these companies. I can see most of them are located in the US, Europe, and some other cities. Where is Dubai now?
I'm first of all super happy that Les says he's a big supporter of blockchain, because I think 2 years ago I had the first coffee with him in the MCC and said, hey Les, you got everything we need to do a nice thing. And 2 years later he's a big supporter of blockchain, but he's still not in. But we're slowly getting him on stage. That's a good step forward.
I mean, this is a good step, you know, having him on stage first, and then probably in the game.
You're just picking on me now.
And I appreciate that, because a lot of people out of the old industry first want to execute something before they get on stage. And so NASDAQ and a lot of other big players are already testing in the market, also the big banks and so on, but they're not talking publicly about it. Now about Dubai, you have seen Ahmed bin Sulayem before. I met him around 3 years ago, and we talked about how to create an ecosystem, a blockchain ecosystem in Dubai. And you need three things when you build an ecosystem. You need infrastructure. And with infrastructure, the MCC is world class. We heard it before. You need capital money to invest in projects. And the Middle East is worldwide famous for having a bit of capital, at least as long as oil is here. And in the blockchain space, there's more capital around. There are new ways to fund. And the last and most important thing to create an ecosystem is talent. There are only a few local people like Said since a few years working on that. But when people like Joseph are deciding to move to Dubai, then the talent is definitely coming to Dubai. So in the last 18 months, we have seen so many talented people in our industry moving here. And with that, what's the reason for that? It's the quality of life, it's the environment, it's the regulatory framework, it's the infrastructure, and at least how Dubai handled this crisis. And that's a perfect start for an ecosystem. And the start from ecosystem means today we have already 500 blockchain related organizations in the UAE, and a little bit more of 100 of them are in the MCC. So we're working on that, and I'm repeating what I'm saying, but I believe end of next year we will have 1,000 companies in the UAE in the blockchain space.
Fantastic. So you mentioned Joseph coming here to Dubai. So Joseph, now you have one of the biggest US investors by your side, Tim Draper. I don't know how you managed to get him into the team. This was, and he was very excited to be in the team.
It was a process. We've known Tim for a long time.
But my question, why Dubai? So you have all these locations. Why have you chosen Dubai?
So first of all, I want to say I'm happy that Les is on this panel, because between Ralph, Said, and I, we always agree on everything, and it tends to be kind of boring, and then we have some good talking points here. So that's awesome. For us, Dubai is the obvious choice to expand from California, where our fund is based, because of the regulatory friendliness. If you look at the United States, if you look at the SEC, if you look at how difficult it is to launch a blockchain and crypto startup in the United States, you're essentially playing Russian roulette with the government. You never know when and how hard they're going to crack down on you. And then, you come here, and it's been decided that blockchain is good for the country, and now they're implementing all these frameworks and regulations that are very important for companies to operate, and also for investors to invest with peace of mind, that knowing that they're not breaking the law and that they're not getting in trouble for it. I'm very new to Dubai. I actually came here for the very first time this year in February. everything has been moving very, very quickly. And then I met my brother from another mother, Ralph, and we hit it off really well. We're collaborating on many different fronts, co-investing in deals, and also pushing the crypto center at the DMCC forward, where we're also going to co-host an incubator and accelerator. So there is a lot of opportunity here for us. Tim is very excited about it. He's been to Dubai many times. We're going to allocate a lot of money into startups here. We're very excited about the number of startups that we see coming here. Obviously, out of 1,000 startups, not all of those will be funded. Not all of this will be admitted to the DMCC. Not all of us should be here. But I'm an immigrant entrepreneur myself. I was born and raised in Austria. I moved to California for the big, American dream, and I feel like I have, achieved some level of it. But now we see an actual exodus from the United States to Switzerland and to Dubai. I have frequent calls with portfolio companies, and on a weekly basis, that ask me about moving here, setting up shop here. And it's really phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't think of a better place for me personally and for our fund to be in than Dubai right now.
I will come to this point about when coming to invest into blockchain companies, startups especially. So we have Saeed here. Saeed, welcome. And you've been one of the very early adopters of this technology and one of the very early investors in the region. We went through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we were talking about the blockchain will accelerate so much of this movement in blockchain, whether it is in finance, supply chains, healthcare. Did we see a big change over the past 2 years?
First, I'm glad this is an offline event, because last time Ralph and Joseph had connection issues. This time I was late. I'm sorry.
In person is always better, right?
Good afternoon.
No, I mean, with COVID, obviously, anything and everything that's digital has exploded. And I think the main thing that happened with COVID in Dubai is that most of the other countries globally had issues with lockdown and, things not being quite so open. And Dubai just, handled the situation very well. And then they had a right strategy, and then they opened fully. And a lot of people that I know in the space actually decided, they would move here because of the pandemic. And then when they actually came here and saw how open everything was and how encouraging the government was and the regulators were on blockchain technology, they decided they wanted to stay. So a lot of the people that moved here because of the pandemic actually decided to stay here. And then they've been telling their network of people, Dubai is great. You should come over. You should see what's happening here. And it's just had a multiplying effect. So I think in terms of the number of people that have moved here and the number of people in the market that have decided to do their business here has tremendously increased because of COVID.
All right. So we'll talk more details about these companies as well. Let me move back to you. So when we talk about bridging this traditional finance and decentralized finance, there's so many challenges now. But it's happening in some places. It is really happening. My question to you, like you also working on the side of private, public, government, are you seeing this kind of support from regulators to see this kind of shift?
You're really setting me up here to be the bad guy, aren't you? Innovation will always lead regulation. That's fine. I would love to list Bitcoin, Ethereum futures on my exchange.
I was getting to this, but
I can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it because I don't have regulatory approval. I have to have regulatory approval to list any products. And these are USD products, financially settled, but they're just referenced off of indices, Coinbase indices. I can't do that yet. And I think I don't want to be critical of regulators. It's a really difficult role to play. Who wants to be the referee on a football pitch, right? So I get that. And I think what the industry would say, if there was one criticism, so a building block, shall we say, is the fragmentation. And you talk about being we're a semi-government organization. DMCC is an offshore free zone. And again, I'm a big supporter of blockchain and of Dubai, my home. But it is fragmented, that regulatory development in the UAE, differences between ADGM in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, my regulator, ESCA, and the ADGM regulator. So there's a lot of moving parts. We're not getting the clarity yet. I have the utmost confidence, faith, and respect in the regulators to find that pathway. What I do see from the regulators here is they really do want to put UAE as the forefront and the leader in this area. So my kudos to them. And one example I will give you is just on a government level, how I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and Ralph picked up on the word talent. I think it was about 2018, 2019, certainly before COVID. The Ministry of Higher Education, I think it was working with the universities to develop a program for AI and blockchain for the graduates coming through. Because although we have talent here, we really do have talent in the UAE, and it's increasing as people move in. I don't see the talent on a global basis yet. And I think there's more that we could do as an industry to build that up. But all of these things, the regulatory issue, the talent issue, these are growing pains. These are luxury problems, right? And that's the kind of thing you're gonna have if you're at the forefront and the cutting edge of industry. So those are pains that are worth putting up with.
All right.
Can I just chime in here for a second? Because talent is there globally. And if Dubai manages to actually create that playing field that makes it very attractive for startups to move here, they will come here. So you may not see them yet in your industry, but there is a lot of talent out there globally, and a huge opportunity for Dubai to attract them to come set up shop here.
So, Ralph, what do you think that we need in terms of regulations to bring those talent that Joseph is talking about?
You know, regulation is a difficult thing because we always talk about it like it's stopping innovation. It's there to protect investors and customers at the end of the day, and
the startups too.
Yeah, and the startups too. And what we see at the moment, I mean, I'm positively talking about a boom. We will see 1,000 companies here, and every week I hear about scams here in Dubai. So every week, and when you have a boom phase like we have it right now, of course, all the scammers are coming out as well. So regulation is very important, that we only have the real ones, the real players. And I'm looking forward a little bit to the next crypto winter. So we call that when the prices are going down, when the markets are going down, because I think we are all three, we are long-term investors. We search for good teams. Doesn't matter if equity or token, but there should be a value behind. And I think when you said in the last 2 years, you have been a good investor in the blockchain space, it was just throwing money to anything and everything went up. So it wasn't about being a good investor. And that means also that the prices are too high today in a lot of places, and that a lot of companies should be cracked down because they are not using the funds like they should use it. And so we need the regulator. It's more or less a question of the speed the regulator is coming in. And when I came to Dubai, I recognized that DMCC is backed by ESCA, which is the mainland regulator for the UAE. And that was the interesting thing for me, because then you are not in ADGM or in DFC where you're in a sandbox. You are a little bit outside on the whole UAE. But I'm happy about everyone who's making step forward in the right direction. And just, I think 2 weeks ago, we had news from DIFC about security token offerings. So it's moving on. And I'm quite positive that until the end of the year, we will hear also some news from the SK side.
Oh, fantastic. So Joseph, being new now in Dubai and
Hello.
Also having like backing of many investors, what kind of sectors you're looking at, what kind of startup blockchain companies you're looking at? I mean, like, and any industries. So what is it?
We're pretty much use case agnostic. We're pre-seed and seed, Series A, very early, and at that stage, you mostly invest in teams, right? So we're looking for the best teams that have the knowledge to drive and the right composition of founding partners and board members to actually help them essentially put gasoline on the fire, right? And help them scale and expand. We are actively investing in the security token space, infrastructure plays, DeFi, I mean, really across the board. And you know, my heart beats for DeFi. I think it's one of the most useful use cases for a blockchain. But we look at everything across the board, really.
So everything across the board, just about the team, the motivation, the structure.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, think of Twitter, for example. Twitter didn't start out as Twitter. Twitter was pretty bad, actually, text messaging service. And then they had to pivot, and then they became Twitter. And many of the startups we see, the first business plan, the first idea they have is rarely what they actually bring to market, or rarely what they still pitch when they go into, you know, from pre-seed C to Series A. It's a different company, right? But you want to find those teams that will grow with you, listen to you, take your advice, and that you can guide in the right direction and help scale.
All right. Said, so your latest move now is into finance again, with Shisha Finance. So I'm addict to Shisha. I don't know if this is the same Shisha that you have at, or what does it mean?
A little bit different.
So can you tell me more about this, please?
Yeah, I mean, I know the name is, you know, funny to some people, but it's catchy name. And I wanted a name that was based in the Middle East, but globally recognized. And, you know, I think everybody in the world knows what a Shisha is and smokes a Shisha. So, but no, seriously, I mean, it was like Joseph said, you know, it was an idea that came about a couple of years ago because I was participating in a lot of DeFi protocols and I could see the common themes and common issues that they had. And back then I wanted to address those issues. And like what Joseph said, we started off with a different kind of model to the token, which was a liquidity generation event. And now we're shifting over to a token sale rather than a liquidity generation event because we've seen the issues that happened previously and we want to make things better. So we're slightly pivoting, but at the core, it's a decentralized incubator and accelerator. And we like to incubate and seed projects. We're supporting all the blockchains out there. We're on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, and we're launching on Polygon next month. But the core of it is, you know, investing very early and rather than focusing on the equity side like DGH is doing, and DGH is one of our strategic partners, by the way. So we focus on the token side. I'm personally an angel investor in tokens, and I have been for the last 5 years. So that's where my strength is. So, you know, I've always played to my strengths, and we're expanding the team aggressively, expanding the portfolio aggressively. A lot of people maybe say to me too aggressively, but I think we need to be aggressive to actually capture the market because not many people are doing what we're doing because we're utilizing staking contracts and smart contracts and trying to do it in a decentralized fashion. But there's a lot of crypto funds and crypto incubators and accelerators out there. But we're trying to do it in a way where we're not charging any performance fees or management fees and giving all the benefit to the people that are in our community and participating on our platform and staking on our platform. But yeah, I think it's something that I've been focused on, something that I believe in. It's related to DeFi, but ultimately I want to support people out there who have brilliant ideas and they want to get to market, and not just help them get to market, but also what happens after they get to market. And I should say that also with CD Labs and Sanctum Ventures, who are our partners, we're setting up a fund which is going to focus on UAE startups that have, you know, brilliant ideas and helping bring teams and people here and supporting them at a very early stage. So, you know, if you have a great idea or have a great project in mind and you want to be based in the UAE, then we'd love to invest in you.
So I just one more thing on this side as well. So when it comes to licensing, I used to know like a lot of blockchain startups used to struggle going through the licensing process. Is it becoming easier now?
Yeah, I think what the guys at the DMCC with the Crypto Center are doing, they're offering a lot of support, a lot of advice for startups. And I think in terms of regulation and the free zones and the regulators, they have clear guidance and guidelines. And there is actually a lot of legal support companies that are based here, like Karam Legal, which we use to support us on the legal side. But globally, there's a lot of also legal companies that can help you with your structuring and licensing. And I think, as long as you put some resources into it and you spend the time to actually get your setup right in the first place, then I think it's pretty straightforward. And as long as you have the right advice and the right support, then it's pretty easy.
Great.
Probably I want to quickly
please.
jump into that. I think the licensing is still quite a complex process for a startup at the moment. It's not a fast, not a smooth process, but I'm very happy that, for example, DWTC is now also giving out licenses. And that's important from the mindset. The guys then told me, hey, Ralph, there's competition. Others are giving out licenses. And it's totally not my mindset. It's, it's great that this market is so small today. And I believe it will be the wall in the back of us in 5 to 10 years. So everyone who is coming in to that space and making it bigger is more than welcome. It's the same when people say, hey, Ralph, why do you work together with other venture capitalists? They take your best deals. No, they don't. We invest together. So Silicon Valley is not famous because there's one big venture capital company. It's famous because there are all the venture capital companies creating new things. So, and the good thing on an industry like ours with a fast growing pace is competition is not the topic. It's about how to sustainably grow together at the end of the day.
I totally agree with this. I think they're trying to fix our timer. I don't know how much time we have left. 10 minutes. Okay. So, question to all of you. What do you think in 2025 or in the next 10 years, let's say, what will be the biggest trends happening here in the region when it comes to blockchain projects? So where do you see the future of this, Les?
Okay, I'll try and be positive now.
That's why I asked you the question out of
just buck the trend a little. Actually, I think it's to do with a lot of African flow and commodity trade. That's where I see benefit for the UAE. I said earlier on about, trying to displace something that's embedded and mature. US, European, Asian capital markets, it works. It's going to be very difficult to leverage blockchain in there. But I've spent a lot of this year traveling to Africa, and there's lots of very funky projects we can do there, and we are going to announce 2 very soon, because their capital markets are immature. And I don't say that critically, that they just are. I came back from Zimbabwe, their stock exchange, the Zim dollar, we know that's struggling. So there isn't technology to displace. We can put in a blockchain solution that is for the benefit of everyone. My chairman there spoke about from crop to cup for the soft commodities. He's a big advocate of coffee and tea. And we talk as well about mine to market. Because what the blockchain can do there isn't just the provenance and the authenticity of the core products, whether it be gold or coffee, but it gets the value back to the source. There's a lot of ESG benefits, and we haven't touched on that, but all the supply chain elements can talk about that. But when I go to Zimbabwe or Sudan or Rwanda, and I ask for the price of the commodity that we're talking about on the street, I can ask 6 people and get 10 different answers. So that isn't helpful to the local economy there. It's not helpful to the local currency. The blockchain solutions that we're trying to work with the local governments there will enable a transparent ledger flow back to the source so that the farmers, the miners get the value. The UAE, a large importer of ags and soft commodities and re-exporter out to Asia, will get that value as well. So to your question, what do I see in 2025? I see Dubai government doing all the really cool stuff that it's doing, half the government transactions on the blockchain. They announced that a couple of years ago. But actually, I see it more global and regional, if you like, with its trading partners as to how it can leverage the blockchain and then springboard ahead of other trade hubs.
Fantastic. So I think there is a lot more to it. Sorry, and I have to jump in here now. And I understand that a lot of the legacy players would like for blockchain companies just to go to Africa. And I think there is a lot of potential in Africa. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But there is also a lot of potential in the US, in Europe. Just look at the banking system. You put your money into a European bank account, you get negative interest rates, 0% in the United States. Compare that to DeFi yield farming, where you can make hundreds of % a year. And yes, it's the Wild West. Yes, it needs to work better. It needs to be regulated, to Ralph's point. But the potential you have when you switch from an opaque kind of banking system that is designed to be intransparent to something that's on the blockchain, verifiable for everyone, and that actually pays a return on your money, then you're looking at the game changer, not just in Africa. This is for everyone. And people in Europe and the United States already have the technology to actually access these platforms. And another example that I wanna give here is because you're highly regulated, let's talk about digital assets. A lot of stock is still being traded in Bloomberg chat rooms, right? And then the settlement times take forever. We have built technologies with instant settlement on the blockchain where you can, in a regulated fashion, trade securities between an investor and the bank and the buyer, and be done in 2 seconds. I mean, we've actually invested in a company that has built this, and not a siloed solution, but an interoperability layer where Deutsche Bank can plug in, the New York Stock Exchange can plug in, any bank can plug in and bring their offerings to market. So there is a lot of technology for the Western Hemisphere.
I'm going to interrupt if I can, because Joseph, you've done that a couple of times to me, so it's only fair that I do it to you. What's the tipping point? I really do get it, but why isn't the European and the US banking system changing? Yes, it's 100 years old. Yes, we all lose out on our interest. A check takes however many days to clear. I can only run one daily settlement a day. What pushes us over into that tipping point? What's the trigger?
Accessibility to technology. I mean, it's just so easy for everyone these days to access an alternative. You don't really have to put your money in your bank account anymore. That wasn't possible 5-10 years ago. Now there are options. I think the tipping point is here and now.
I would like to jump in,
Joseph,
and I love to disagree at that moment because the problem is the big players are not changing. But look, I mean, we see Coinbase in the US. Coinbase is from the market cap already bigger than Deutsche Bank, UBS and Credit Suisse together. So we had CSAT from Binance here the last weeks. Look at the trading volume of Binance. There are new giants created in a faster way than ever. And the question is, when we move this 10 years forward, what I believe, we will not talk about anymore about the technology. We will just use it. I mean, when I look here in the room, how many of you do know what HTML is and how it works? When I go there and ask exactly how it works, I'm sure the answers are probably not that strong. But we use it every day. And it will be the same with blockchain technology. In 10 years, we will use it every day, but we will not recognize it. And there will be new global players. Today in the morning, I saw, I think it was 1997 when Jeff Bezos got to university and explained his Amazon project. And then the students, after an hour, said to him, look, we don't believe that Amazon is going to work. You should sell now to the big players. They're already there. They have the infrastructure that is never going to work. Where are we today? So for real disruption, it needs new players at the end of the day. And in the next 10 years, we will see some very huge new players putting out the old world.
But Ralph,
Just look at the record industry, the music industry, like the record label Fat Cats never saw Napster and Co. coming, and they didn't take it seriously. And now look at it now. Who still buys CDs?
True. And the thing is, even with most
but one moment, we hope DGCX is one of the global players supported by us.
We had so many of the traditional banks against blockchains, against cryptos, and now all of them, they are offering their customers these products. So I can see this shift in the industry. I mean, I've been covering it at CNBC since 2013, 2014. I still have, I think, 1.5 minutes. I do want to disagree with Les or any of the speakers. So no, so give me your final thoughts.
I'm just gonna talk about. So right now, I think we're in kind of getting near to the top of the bull cycle. And then what I would like to see when that ends and then the bear market comes in for a couple of years or a few years is that will give a chance for the regulators to actually have some peace and quiet and actually be able to regulate and do it in the right way. And then what I'd like to see at the end of that bear cycle is the institutions out there that were looking at this market and thinking, actually, this is like way too overpriced, or, it's too expensive, to actually really sit down and do the research they need to do now for the next couple of years, and then to actually really invest in the technology and invest in the industry. And actually, when the next bull market comes out, I think that's going to be a point where everything is going to be really mature. The technology is going to be mature. Regulation is going to be mature. The participants in the markets are going to be mature. The investors are going to be mature. So I think I'm looking forward to the next 5 years in this market. Most people out here maybe just joined like 6 months ago or a year ago and they heard about DeFi and NFT, but I've been here like 5 years. And when I left ADIA, which is one of the largest institutions, a lot of my ex-colleagues said I was crazy and what I was doing. And I was like, I believe in this. This is the future. And most of those people are actually now invested in the technology and invested in crypto assets. So I think it's a process, but I think we need those larger institutions to actually come into the market and actually help accelerate the growth of the technology itself. But I see a lot of development happening, a lot of innovation happening, but there's going to be even more so when the market, is quiet and nobody's shouting about Bitcoin or nobody's shouting about meme coins like they're doing now. So I'm really looking forward to the next 5 to 10 years. And I think there's going to be a lot more excitement in the next run.
Awesome, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I think we're out of time, and if I don't end it now, so you can see Gordon just walking around the stage. So let's get on with this. And I truly enjoyed this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Based energy economy by the people for the planet. Do we get all three of you, or do we get one of you? Okay. Anyways, I see. It's in order. But anyways, big round of applause, please. It's all yours. Welcome.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. This inspiring genius once said that the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I would like to take that truth that most of us have experienced in life by pain and suffering when we've tried to do something like this and it has failed and we continued the same thing, over two of the biggest issues that we face in our world today. The first is the climate crisis. All you have to do is open your browser and search on climate, and it's everywhere. Turn on the TV, and we see the devastating effects of what is happening around our world. In fact, the history books will write about how we handled this situation for the future generations, the future of our children. The climate crisis, according to the IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Control, has said that for the first time in history, in their August meeting, all 170 nations signed on about the devastating effects that are occurring if we don't get to net zero by 2050. And all 170 nations said that this is a human problem that needs to be addressed. The second issue that we're all facing is economic inequality. And the reality is that there are over 4 billion people who wake up every day with situations completely different than ours. They wake up wondering, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to care for my family? Or maybe a single mom or single dad who wonders how they're going to provide an education for their children. Or will there be enough money to be able to keep the lights on so that they have electricity, if it's even available to them? The fact that with all of the resources that we have at our disposal, that we have not been able to make an impact in this issue is insanity. There are more people in poverty today than there were 20 or 40 years ago. There are over 2 billion people who are still unbanked. They don't have access to the financial resources that we do so that they can save and invest. Now, why is this still happening? I think there are 2 major reasons. The first reason is that we continue to try to solve things locally that are short-term and do not translate into a global experience. So solutions that we try to come up with in Dubai aren't going to happen and work the same way in sub-Saharan Africa. It's just not possible. Or we are short-term in our thinking, and so we try something, it works for a period of time, and then it no longer continues to work. So the second issue is sustainability. We're not building systems that are sustainable. So we're trying the same thing over and over again, and it isn't working. A sustainable world is good for everyone. My name is Dr. Tom Davis, and I have the privilege of leading an organization called the Renewable Energy Alliance. And for over 25 years, I've given my life to try to solve these problems. With many of my colleagues who are much smarter than I am and who have tremendous hearts trying to solve the 2 issues that I've just described to you, but it's been difficult to make progress. I've also done this in over 40 countries where I've walked side by side with the people that are enduring and suffering through these things, and also government leaders who are trying their very best to solve the problem. And it's always the same 2 issues that come up. Number 1, it's lack of energy. They either don't have it, or it's too expensive, or it's not sustainable. And number 2 is a lack of an economy. There's no way for them to get a financial engine going in their life. So I would like for you to just imagine something with me, if you would, please. In your mind's eye, I want you to envision a world with a completely sustainable energy future. Renewable energy, completely sustainable, that everybody has access to it, that it's global, right? We're taking a global solution and we're applying it locally. So it's happening everywhere around the world, no matter where you happen to be. It's transforming your life.